From all over the world, teams flew to Germany in order to find the best team in VALORANT esports, and yet only players from the close east of Berlin had any say in the outcome of the final. Trigger fingers instead of Twitter fingers. No lack of elite jets instead of jet lag from their flight home. European players showed up big time. As for others, they rather talked about their luxury watches and then watched the finals from their hotel room. After almost 2 weeks of top-tier competition, it came down to Gambit versus Acend. 2 European powerhouses that came in with very different expectations. By getting to the finals, Gambit had already locked in as the best team of the year after the victory at Masters Berlin. But could they also become the best team of the moment? While Acend was still ranked highly, the majority of pundits and experts didn't have them in the top 3 to most likely win the event. Too often they had been burnt after having been seduced by the oh-so-sweet potential of the multinational roster around Turkish superstar Acend. Presumed to be shaken by the initial ruining of the Keyed Stars game, a match that they themselves had agreed to have lost and struggled in, Acend picked up steam and ran the bracket through arguably the toughest schedule of a champion at an international VALORANT event yet, having to go through tournament favorites like Team Envy, Liquid, and then lastly, Gambit, if they wanted to win it all. In the actual final, the rules how this battle would be carried out became apparent pretty quickly. The match starting out on Breeze, 2 incredibly strategical teams would have to get one up on one another through individual spikes of genius, such as Zeke's play in the 3rd round.
Reassure positioning. What? Zeke? 2 kills out of nowhere, and suddenly this round becomes a little bit more viable, but time is the biggest problem. Oh my word, Zeke. Is this when you're going to step up and deliver? But it's going to be Chronicle. The bottom line, Zeke! The timing. I don't think he's going to have the time. Surely! Surely! Oh my god, Zeke has just destroyed them.
Now, fundamentally, Gambit hadn't done too much wrong here in double peeking him and even keeping their swings fairly tight. Now really, what is one ought to do against spray transfers like that? Showing off the strength of their defense, Acend raised up their score to 9-1. A frightening round advantage, even in the context of the defensive-sided nature of the map. If only the 9-1 curse wasn't looming. A scoreline Gambit had been able to get back from so many times before. Now, with a strong defense as a focal point of the series established, another deciding aspect crept into the forefront of everyone's attention. Shut down Nats or lose the map. The arguably best player of 2021 had built up a scary reputation as the best anchor in the game, being able to create pure magic out of empty space and interpreting it with an unmatched clairvoyance. On the second half of Breeze, and with the curse now fully unleashed, the demon came alive and completely dominated the second half with few answers available for Acend. Throughout the match, it became perfectly apparent that Acend had studied Nats' habits in detail, catching him on some of them, but remaining unable to shut him down effectively on Breeze and Fracture, in which he dropped +19 and +23 respectively, naturally becoming the 2 maps that Gambit would win. Now, with defense and Nats' on-off switch laid out as ground rules for this war during the first 3 maps, the eventual real difference maker would crystallize. While superstar performances from CNET and Nats won their squads some maps, the cliché of teams winning championships rang so incredibly true. As each play unfolded and the play broke down into smaller scenarios like 2v2s or 3v3s, the coordination between Acend players shined, defying previously observed patterns in other esports in which major titles were mainly won by teams who only had members of the same language community. Okay, take this 2v2 scenario for example. On paper, every 2v2 when both Nats and Chronicle are still alive for the clutch is a nightmare to play through, especially with your utility as depleted as Bone Cold and Starksos were here. As Starkso isolates the angle and here's Nats, there is not much pressure established from Chronicle, who only helps Nats by covering the lower angle. Despite having a heavy utility advantage and a reasonable amount of time to work with, they take the gamble on the aim duel, a rather uncharacteristic move by Nats really, who otherwise excels in pushing these odds from 50-50s into his favor. While the information was certainly against them, one has to wonder if the nerves had gotten to Gambit in this arguably match-winning round. With his mental game now appear to have been maxed out, Starksos seemed to carry the momentum of the round into overtime and eventually also split. Time and time again, Acend found pressure points of Gambit's positioning and coordinated expertly in driving the Russians to break. as they appeared to lose steam during the long series, while especially Starksil remained razor sharp. In the end, it was dubs all around. A dub for Acend, winning the biggest, most prestigious event of the year. A dub for Gambit, for claiming the title of the best team in 2021. An arguable dub for Nuts, who, in our opinion, solidified himself as the best player of 2021. Most of all, despite a few hiccups, it was a victory for VALORANT esports and its audience, blessed with a great final and a great event that wasn't always run perfectly, but still showed off the potential of VALORANT as a tier 1 esport. More than just running the current high of a new game, we saw real and deep potential of the title, with no peak of the experience yet in sight. The next season of VCT cannot come soon enough.